gave us Motown, gave us Motown, gave us the Mustang. We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen. He meant explosive in terms of fire. Euramicia.
I don't read, obviously.
When they gaze upon Yosemites,
This is going to reveal all the evil in our country.
Stop it!
Winston Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill.
heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
Lumpy pillows kiss my ass.
Computer board.
Immortal principles.
Action replays in magnified fortune.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. All right. Let's jump straight in here. Welcome, everybody. How are you today? Hello, I'm Hal Sparks, host of Hal Sparks Megaworldwide, the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. I've come up with a new moniker. I'm trying it out. The hardest working man in yo business. I like it. I think it works, and I'm committed to it. As of now. Hi, everybody. I feel like that would, I think that one works. I was on Stephanie Miller's show this morning, and I really do feel like that should be her intro for me when I come on for hump days with Hal or anything. I think that works. The hardest working man in yo business. So stupid. That's why it has to work. By the way, I'm Hal Sparks. I'll be Hal Sparksing the rest of the night. And for those of you who don't know who Hal Sparks is, go Google Hal Sparks. And the greatest thing about this is that Trolls, maggots, welcome to the show. You don't get shunned here as long as you don't spam the chat and use racial epithets, which are two things that you seem borderline incapable of not doing. But hey, we give you a shot anyways, and we thank you for being here because you spread us out through the algorithm in a way that others can't. You just can't. You know, like our lovable regulars, the sparklers themselves and others, they have the ability to spread us out through the interwebs. But, you know, there's a lot of overlap. They watch shows that seem similar or whatever. But you guys take my show and you deliver it to reaches of the internet that preferably, I honestly don't want to go. But half the time might be, you know, I think the very important thing is that when somebody sees it in their live feed, like this is on live now, and someone who watches what you watch this, it just, you know, anything to make you assholes grind your teeth. So, hi. And also, you need to try harder. Yeah, really. I'm just not, I'm feeling like you guys are resting on your laurels. Maybe you're just tired of winning, and so you're just kind of, you know, you got that kind of like Thanksgiving turkey hangover where you're passing out in front of a football game. I just don't feel like you're bringing it, and you're going to need it considering, you know, that the Ukraine war hasn't ended yet, and food prices are still high, and rent's still high, and yeah. Anyways, we'll get to a bunch of that in a minute. Now, there's a lot of stuff to cover. And I feel like the vast majority of it should be right from the nunt's mouth. And so Trump spoke to the entirety, or I don't think they all showed up, but the House Republicans in a caucus, if you will, from the Latin Caucasian, which means to white across the tops of the mountains. The Caucasus Mountains, which sounds dirty. But meanwhile, before we get into that chat room, hi, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome to the show. What's going on? I have something cool to show everybody, and I gotta, hold on. Why don't I have one in here? Talk amongst yourselves. Son of a... After a long last, these things finally arrived. After having difficulty getting my patches reordered for the Patreon people because of shipping and whatnot, I decided to go another route, and we're switching to these little babies, Promise Coins. These are Houseparks Megaworldwide Promise Coins that our Patreon folks will be getting, the top tier, the top two tiers, I guess. We'll be getting these guys, and then the patches will go to the lowest level so that everybody has something they can show to when they come to a show and gets in, whatever. But this will be it. It's a challenge coin, and on it says Houseparks Mega Worldwide, but it says Eligi Manus Malum. Eligi Manus Malum. See that right there? That means choose less evil. And then on the other side of it, it has a Sparrowhawk, because that's where my last name comes from. And it says Celer Everus across the top of it, which is swifted true. And then on the bottom, if you could see that, Qui totem volt totem perdut, which basically means he who tries to gain all gains nothing, which is my fuck you to the if we don't get everything, nobody gets anything crowd. So there you go. Anyways, it's very awesome. I would like to, we're gonna mail out some of these, obviously, because I won't run into you guys, but I would like to hand these out to people when I am on tour with John and Frangela coming up, for those of you that come to the show. And because these are not per se sexy liberal shows, I can get the lovely patrons in on some of these things. They can get a little discount on what would be my slice of the situation. You know what I'm saying? So you guys will just end up on my list, is how I'll probably work it out. And then if I don't run into you, we'll do what we can to send you one. So Mark, we have to talk, because they finally showed up. The fucking boxes on my doorstep that my girlfriend was like, did you order like hand weights through the mail? So they're pretty cool. Oh, and the symbol glows in the dark. Just saying. It's kind of, I went the extra mile. It had to. You know what I mean? Right? When I hold rallies, I will toss these out into the crowd and they'll whack people in the head. These are substantial. They're like, seriously, these are heavy duty. I'm just saying. I was surprised. But there they go. Anyway, so that's cool, and I'm very excited about that, and more like that to come for our Patreon folks. I've really committed this year to kind of like upping our game for the support the Patreons have given us and try to get more stuff to them and fun things that they can have and signs of appreciation, other than the fact that you guys actually make the show happen, and everybody owes you a debt of gratitude, myself included. So there we go. Now, the foster babies went home yesterday. It was very sad seeing them go. Don't stir up my pain. If they'd have stayed another 2 days, we'd have kept all of them. That's, I mean, in the immortal words of whoever the character in Unforgiven, the Clint Eastwood character, man's got to know his limitations. No, that was actually Dirty Harry. I take it back. Anyways, so on we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how much of this shit we'll be able to stand, but off we go. It is the Trump couldn't be bothered to leave Florida, so he did this thing at Doral. It's amazing. He's right back to filling his properties with congressional delegations, and the security details that go with them that have to pay to be there. So milking it as you do. So here we go. Oh, wait, is that Mike? Okay, wait, does he have a song? Oh, God. No, dude, you don't. First of all, I don't need to hear this guy's voice ever. But also, do I, like, and proud to do, doo. Yeah, of course. So, yeah. Of course they're going to play that stupid song. Still. We got to sell some Bibles. There's Steve Scalise, who Trump thinks looks better than ever, but has lost a lot of weight, and people are concerned he might have cancer. So I don't know quite how to. I think it's probably, hopefully it's Ozempic. I think that's going to be a phrase we all have to look forward to, is hopefully it's Ozempic. When you see somebody and you haven't seen them in a while and they're rail thin and saggy all of a sudden, and you're like, ooh, hopefully it's Ozempic and not the big C. So. Oh my God, like a dickhead. Just make them stand there. Yes, make them all stand there and clap. Here I am. I'm standing here. They let the song play. I like it when the whole song plays. I like it. Yeah, we got to stand for this whole thing. Guys, on his phone. Put your phone down. Not right. He thought we would notice, but we did. Take your phones out, and yes, make sure you get video of the oddness of a grown man standing for an entire double chorus out on a pop song from the early 80s. Oh, God. It's so cringe. It's so cringe. Remember how freaked out they got about Biden standing still during a song? Like everybody's bobbing to the song and he's just standing there. And I got to say, if you're a president anytime around Trump, it's got to be like, if you feel like even dancing, it's like it brings to mind Trump's like, la, 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 I'm a little teapot, right? Look, what is the stand? This is so goofy Hitlerian. Oh, and by the way, I have to throw this up there too, legally. Full nut warning. It's in, I think they stay back on the far camera.
I want to thank you all and congratulate. I mean, this is a very big congratulations to.
I want to try to say congratulations, but I can't say the congratulate word. I'm going to, the word is congratulate. It's right there in the teleprompter.
Our re-elected House Republican majority on your largest popular vote. Did you know that since 1928? That's a long time, Mike, right? That's a long time.
Gee, I wonder if there are more people living in the United States now than there were in 1928. and that this is more indicative of the puniness of this vote as opposed to the fact that they just never won one. They keep winning the Electoral College, and they've never even crossed that.
I especially want to
So stupid.
thank our outstanding leadership team. Speaker Mike Johnson, we all know so well. He's doing great. Majority Leader
Half these people hate his fucking guts.
Steve Scalise, who's gone through so much, and he looks better today than he did 10 years ago. I don't know what's going on. Thank you very much, Steve. You look great. Majority Whip Tom.
Again, honest to God, like when I saw Steve Scalise recently, I was like, I hope it's Ozempic. It looks, like the dude it's not like he started working out.
Emma, Tom, thank you.
It's a dream. Yeah, the chat seems to think it's adrenochrome.
Great job. And House Conference Chair Lisa McLean. Lisa, thank you very much.
You know, I've missed his inability to pronounce normal names. I hope we get some real humdingers. Dave Humdinger. Yeah, I popped the audio a little bit because it was low, and now it should be back to normal. Sorry.
Thanks as well to all of the incredible House members and staff for your tireless work on behalf of our country, along with Congressional Institute CEO Kelly Strickland. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much.
Wherever she is. Most of the
So
time,
we
this
have
is boring.
Kellyanne Conway. Nobody knows Kellyanne. Does anybody know? Where's Kellyanne? She's around. What? She's so good. She's a good person, too.
She's good at her job being terrible, but she's also a good person. And usually that doesn't mix up. Now, it's not true either, but...
Person, too. And the mayor of Hialeah, I love this guy because he said, sir, we want to name a major boulevard after you. And he did it. Anybody that names a boulevard after me, I like him a lot. Esteban Bovo and Hialeah, mayor of Hialeah, thank you, wherever you may be, Esteban.
Esteban Bovo?
Where are you? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great honor, actually. A lot of people come back from Hialeah. They say, they just named a road after you. I say, that's okay. It's a beginning, right? It's a start.
Excuse me, there's been a Spark Street in Burbank in California for decades. You're welcome. Also, Sparks, Nevada. Suck it up. Where's Trump Town? Nowhere.
With the help of everyone in this room, we've just won the most epic, consequential political victory in American history, according to a lot.
According to a lot. According to all the people who follow me around with a pooper scooper.
One of the major fake newspapers, so in this case it's not fake news, let's say, but they said it's the most consequential election victory in the last 129 years. I'm trying to figure out what that means, 120. Who was there 129 years ago? But it was a great one.
Yeah, by the way, the consequential part of it, I think you misread it. I think they meant that there's going to be a lot of consequences to this asshole being in power again. It's not quite the same thing.
Presidential level, we won the popular...
Oh, yeah, subscribe. Thank you, Andrea. We're almost at 80,000 subscribers. Come on. Get us up there. Get us to 100K. Subscribe. Share the show. I insist. Okay, here we go.
Vote for the first time of any Republican in decades. We swept all 7 swing states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada by very, very big margins, record-setting. And for the first time...
By the way, only record-setting because Republicans had done so poorly over this time, and Democrats sat it out. Because apparently they bought into this whole fucking Genocide Joe thing or whatever. I don't know what the fuck. But you know, we'll deal with that later. I'm not too worried. I think people are starting to wake up. But
remember, all 50 states, did you know this? Shifted toward the Republican Party. We've never had that before. Nobody has, actually.
Reagan. Seriously. Like, Reagan did way better.
It's never happened before. You must be doing a good job, fellas. We won the largest number of African-American voters in Republican history, including 39% of black men, a record by a lot. So that's really nice. Thank you.
And welcome to the world of FAFO, guys.
We won more Hispanic-American votes than any Republican ever. It's never won any, not even close. Look at that, Hispanic-American.
Oh, fuck. I can tell. You can tell where he's from his face. It's probably the mustache that gave him away. How about that, my Hispanic American over there? I'm Italian. The lighting is bad.
We made historic strides with youth, men, women, urban, suburban, and rural voters. And in a political
No, the Republicans did not grow the rural vote. It's almost entirely that. So.
earthquake. Yeah, sit down. Just enjoy it. What the hell? We're going to be here for a little while. But in a political earthquake, we won a wave of support from labor unions, including massive numbers of auto workers, which gave us Michigan as an example.
Oh, please remind me on Friday, Rob Glenn with Friday Eye, I have a video to show you guys, and it's killing me not to show it to you now, of the factory in Mexico that Trump was talking about, the guy saying remember the guy he was saying, I know the guy who makes the best factories in the world and they're just turnkey and da-da-da. And he goes, if you want to see one, you got to go to Mexico. I want to see one here. Right. Okay. I found a video of a guy touring one of those. And I'm very excited about the idea that any maggot, and I'm offering a challenge to any of the maggots that are in the audience or any, of the Fafonomics crowd, please join me Friday morning for Friday Eye, Hal Sparks Mornings Mega Worldwide, because I'm going to show you the kind of factories Donald Trump wants to bring to America. All right, that's all I'm going to say.
We won Michigan easily, and we did tremendous with the auto workers, and an overwhelming majority of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. The Teamsters were great. They showed up in droves, and we won them by a lot. Together, we're forging a new political majority that's shattering and replacing Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal coalition, which dominated American politics for over 100 years. That's what we're doing.
That's what you want to do. Yeah, you really want to go after the New Deal because, and what you want to do is run on the idea that you're not going to attack Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And then as soon as you get into power in your first big meeting with Republicans in Congress, basically do a fuck the New Deal speech. That's a great idea. That, if anything will tee you up for 2026, that'll do it.
And what Mike said before, common sense. It is a little bit of
common misconceptions. He can't tell the difference.
Sense. Maybe it's a lot of common sense. Under our leadership, the Republican Party has become.
Are there varying degrees of volume of common sense? It's a state, is it not? Or is there a scale?
The proud voice of hardworking American citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed.
So not Don, Eric, and Ivanka. Okay.
We become the party of the American dream and wealth creation for everyone.
Yes, wealth creation is, I think, really what DOWAL is really about. And if you can go to Mawawago, that you can take a special class from Twump University that they still teach there on wealth creation.
The party of the American dream and wealth creation for everyone.
Wealth creation. Sorry,
everyone, not just the rich. If we do our job
it's pronounced witch. A witch.
Over the next 21 months, not only will House Republicans be reelected and expand our majority in 2026, we will cement a national governing coalition that will preserve American freedom for generations to come. There has never been anything like what's happened in politics in the last few years.
Actually, there was exactly this from Carter to Reagan. But Reagan actually had somebody in the second seat in the VP who was, conniving and driven, not quite a Cheney in George H.W. Bush, but at least knew how shit ran, as opposed to like Tweedledum and Tweedledumbest.
Years. Never been anything like it. Everybody.
There's been a lot like it, actually. Just say it, Garfield. This is one of the things that comes to mind.
People of religion.
The president, not the cat.
Everybody seems to be with us. I don't know how any. No, dude. Evenly divided. You cleared 2.1 million in the popular vote.
Look, Hillary had 3 million over you. Don't give you that shit.
Anybody could even vote for the other side. In many cases, they don't, but they do get credit for it. You'll have to think about that. I've raised a lot of money for the...
Get credit for what? Getting 75 million votes? Getting our candidate, well, certainly getting more votes than any female candidate in the history of the country.
Next race that I assume I can't use for myself, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know. I think I'm not allowed to run again. I'm not sure. Am I allowed to run again, Mike? I better not get you involved in that argument. No, we raised a lot of money, a tremendous amount, and our teletown halls are something that's very special that nobody else...
Oh, my God. Really? You're still selling? Because he's trying to sell the mechanics of the teletown hall that he used off to these other Republicans and get like a fee through it because Don Jr. like invested in the company for these jack-off like phone trees.
Is able to even contemplate...
And no, he can't run again, so don't worry about it.
Using...
If he even makes it to the end of this one, which, again... We should watch a little bit of the... I don't even know how much we have to watch of this one, but we'll watch a little bit of the Nevada one as well. And
we've gotten a lot of people elected with those teletown halls. We get on, we have 25,000, 30,000 people on just in a congressional area, and they win easy. It works for Elvis, the Beatles, and it doesn't work for anyone else, but it works for Trump. And we would have tremendous crowds on those calls, and I think we have...
Sorry, Elvis and the Beatles had teletown halls? What? Does anybody know what the fuck that meant? Wait, say that again?
Easy. It works for Elvis, the Beatles, and it doesn't work for anyone else, but it works for Trump. And we would have tremendous crowds on those calls, and I think we have, I'll bet we got...
What? Wait, what? Wait, what? No. Okay, nobody in that audience gets to pretend they know what the fuck he's talking about. What? What? So you stole the idea of teletown halls from the Beatles? What?
35, 40 people elected because of the teletown halls.
Or fear of MAGA violence.
But I did say to them, and I said, this is the greatest, the person that sort of has the rights to it, and he happens to be a great Republican. I said, this is the greatest invention. This thing is going to make a...
Yeah, I can do this from bed. It's almost like in 2015 when I would call into Joe and Mika's show in my fucking pajamas, and they elevated me to the level of an actual candidate, and I didn't even have to show up.
Fortune said, no, it's not that good, actually, because it only works for you. He said, actually, sir, it only works for you because somebody else they're not picking up, so I'm honored to have that...
They don't pick up the phone. Sorry, the teletown halls, what it just rings the person's house? What?
Privilege, and I used it carefully, but we've done a lot of the teletown halls for people, and I don't think we've ever lost one, right? It's hard to lose one, even if you only get 5,000 or 6,000 people on a congressional race, but we've done them for states, we've done them for governors, and we've done them for senators, and we did a couple countrywide. I did a couple for myself countrywide. They're absolutely amazing.
The mortgage company or the lemonade?
And we got the message out through that and lots of other means. We even got it out through TikTok. Has anyone ever heard of TikTok? I have a little bias toward TikTok right now, I have to tell you. So we won youth.
Yeah, so he's going to use this idea that he has to salvage TikTok because of the youth vote, which he did not win by 37%. That's just bullshit. Like I think they got 37% more in one category of Republicans turnout, something like a subdivision of a subdivision of a subdivision of another number. But now he's just trying to throw a bone. He feels like he's got to offer this to fucking Xi Jinping as a thank you for helping him get elected.
By the largest.
Oh, and by the way, you know how Biden, everybody gave him shit for doing not a joke? Folks, not a joke. Not a joke. Serious. This is not a joke. Not hyperbole. It's not a joke, right? And it became a tick that people started being almost concerned about because he would use it so often. Has anybody ever heard of a little thing called is now the Trump tick? He does this a shit ton in every situation now. Anybody ever heard of a little thing called fire? Little thing called trees. It's now like pathological. Watch for it.
This margin, no Republican. We generally don't win youth. We won by 36 points. Can you imagine that? And I think TikTok had something.
By the way, the people in the audience know that's not true, so they just don't react because they don't want to clap and encourage, I guess, his being out of his fucking mind too much.
Thing to do so. Pardon me if I'm a little bit, I became a little bit jaded toward TikTok, but we'll see what happens.
Jaded? Asshole, it's the other way. Jaded is against something. You're biased towards it. You're supportive of, fuck me.
Happens. We're going to have a lot of people bidding on it, and if we can save all that voice and all the jobs, and China won't be involved. You don't want China involved, but we'll see what happens.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. They're not going to sell the algorithm, so what the fuck is it for? Why would anybody want to buy TikTok without the algorithm? Why would China sell the algorithm when it would allow everybody to get a look at it? Are you fucking dumb?
But over the past 7 days,
yes, he is.
My administration has been moving with urgency and historic speed to reverse every single disaster of the Biden administration. By the way, the guy was a disaster, okay? You know, we want to be nice, and he's probably not listening right now because it's a little late, but you know, I don't want him to listen. I don't want to say it. I feel badly. I was, you know, making the inauguration speech, and I'm saying all the bad things, and he's sitting like right here.
Yeah, and you're a coward and a chicken shit, and you like being braggadocious on the fucking golf course and around these assholes. But I mean, look at how Newsom put you in your place.
I'm saying they were a horrible administration. They didn't know what they were doing. They were grossly incompetent. I got a guy sitting right next to me. It's not that easy to do, even though he didn't understand what I was saying. He really did. And deliver on the mandate that we've been given by the American people. In a single week, I've taken over 350 executive actions. We've signed 300, and who ever heard of that one?
Yeah, because you've given up on passing legislation. All you're going to do is drive up the costs of litigation for the U.S. government. Because you're going to have to defend all these fucking things. Because they're not law, and many of them are directly in violation of law, like the freeze on federal grants. That money has already been allocated by the fucking Congress, and the very people in front of you are the ones who allocated it, and they don't want to give that power away. Jesus.
And as I said in my inaugural address, the American decline is over. It's over.
And the Trump decline begins.
The golden age of America has officially begun, and I think that's
officially. It's officially begun.
A good thing for us to talk about, the golden age
of fish. Yeah, like the smelt.
The American dream. I think it's a good thing because people haven't been talking that way for a long period of time. On day one, I directed every member of my cabinet to marshal all powers at their disposal to defeat inflation and bring down the cost of daily life. And we're going to...
Yeah, I came in there and said, I delegated, hey, all those promises I made that I have no fucking idea how to make them happen, make them happen. That's honestly what it is. All these things is like I'm directing, you know, the staff and this department or that department to do the thing I said I would do. I don't know how you do it, but get it done.
Do that. You're going to see it starting to happen when we get going with the energy. The energy is going to, you know, brought everything up. It's going to bring everything down. I imposed a federal hiring freeze, a federal rate.
I think he means the cost of oil drove the price of everything up and not supply shock caused by COVID and the follow-on and us reshoring factories and all that stuff. This asshole doesn't actually think that like moving factories from overseas to the United States is a cost-free endeavor that happens immediately. Of course he does.
Regulation freeze, a foreign aid freeze, isn't that?
I don't even know what's in the teleprompter. Look what I signed. I had no idea even signed it. That's a big one.
We get tired of giving massive amounts of money to countries that hate us, don't we? And I created the new Department of Government Efficiency, and I think...
No, you didn't. It's not a department.
I think it's going to be very meaningful.
You think it's going to be very meaningful? You think it's going to call you in the morning and respect you? Think it's going to give you a reach around?
I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Scam, one of the great scams in history. Actually, isn't it 12 years up? They gave us 12 years to live, right? I think that we passed it, right? We're still around. Can you believe it? You know,
This is a great example of the stupidity of the right-wing media and the porous brain of the people who watch it, and the idea that in 12 years we can reach a point of no return if we don't start mitigating what we're doing in the world. The world started to mitigate things, and now he's cut that mitigation before we've met the standards that we were trying to put in place. Hence, we are back on the road to a rise in temperature. But the world wasn't supposed to end. We were supposed to get past a certain line as far as the 1.5 Celsius if we didn't do everything we could to mitigate. Well, guess what? We didn't do everything we could, and this guy's first term was part of the reason why.
The person that really came up with it is a person that never even took a course on the environment, was a poor student, not a good student, didn't understand a lot, and she...
Sorry, did you ever take a course on the environment in your life? Did you ever take did you have military training? I mean, I know you were on the bowling team at your West Point Light or wherever you went.
Came up with this idea, and everybody all of a sudden started going, and then mainstream, important Democrat leaders were starting, they got sucked into it, and we've spent trillions of dollars on just throwing...
Wait a minute, does he think that the climate movement started with AOC and everybody just went along with it because she's pretty and charismatic? Yes, he does.
It out the window. You could throw it out the window. You would have been better off. I withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord, and I canceled.
Yes, one-sided. It was on the side of Earth.
It was so one-sided. We had obligations, but Russia didn't, China didn't, other...
Yeah, I don't think they were signatory to it, and when they were, they didn't live up to them. Yeah, again, nobody had any obligations. I read it on the air. Everything's like, well, if this will affect your country's bottom line or screw up your GDP, you don't have to do it. But try your best. That's what it was.
Countries didn't. We paid everything. We're going to lose $1 trillion.
PB says we're the worst polluter. We're not the worst polluter. We're the worst polluter per capita because we're very small and we have a lot of output. China dwarfs everything we do. India is very close as a second.
$1 billion over a short period of time on that. And we had to do everything. They didn't have to do anything. It was ridiculous. And
they had to do the same thing we did, which was all voluntary.
I canceled the insane and very costly electric vehicle mandate. So you can buy a car of your choice. If you like gasoline, go have it. And if you like...
And there wasn't an electric vehicle mandate, by the way. There was an emissions mandate. And the idea was that car companies that sell, petroleum-based cars thought they could not meet that. And so it set an impossible barrier for them at some point. The reality is they absolutely could. It's just they don't want to. And curiously enough, a lot of them have to sell to Europe, whose standards are already at that level in most cases. And so it's just a matter of tweaking all their vehicles to fit that. But then, and then of course, having a certain number of electric vehicles available to be purchased, start producing them because people will buy them. Meanwhile, I love that he's just fucking Elon Musk into a cocked hat with this.
Hybrids are doing well. You can have it, or you can buy an electric car. We like electric. We like everything, but you have to have a right to buy everything. I withdrew.
Yeah, we like a coal-fired car. We like one that runs on hamsters.
From the World Health Organization, where we paid $500 million a year, and China paid just $39 million a year, despite a much larger population. How about that?
Yeah, that's because we prioritize life in our country more than they do. Not because it's like a per capita dollar exchange for health. We invested in that because the investment means more to us than anybody else. Fuckwad, or at least it did until until the great Gonzo took over the fucking HHS.
So we're paying
He hasn't done it yet. Tomorrow's his hearing.
$500 million a year. China's paying $39 million a year. They have 1.4 billion people. We have. Nobody knows what we have. So many people came across the border. Nobody has any idea.
Yeah, we had about 10.3 million undocumented people in the country. across the entire spectrum of asylum to illegally sneaking in. And yeah, the number's actually lower than its peak. I think in, what was it, 2014? Was it 11.6 million? That was the last peak before, since the one under Reagan where he did amnesty, right? And the lead up to him announcing amnesty caused a rise because people wanted to get in under the wire and actually get the amnesty. So they snuck in, and then they were like, yeah, you got to have entered the country before this date and be able to prove it. And everybody was like, fuck. And they got broomed out. But that was the last peak. Still lower than that.
I used to say like 325, but we really don't know. But we're going to know soon. We're going to know.
You used to say like 325? What do you mean? Who gives a shit what you said? What did the census said, like 340, right? Isn't that the... Jesus Christ, man. Hold on. Now I gotta look this up. It's annoying. Yeah, here you go. Population of the U.S. All right. 333.29 million. If you don't count the illegals, I guess.
I tell you, our people are doing Tom Homan and his staff are doing an
They're doing a Tom Homan.
incredible job getting the bad ones out. I declared a national energy emergency.
Sorry, I thought they were all bad ones. I thought they were all out of mental institutions and insane asylums, which are somehow different.
Urgency to unlock the liquid gold that's right under our feet, because we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill.
Who's we, motherfucker? We don't have nationalized oil in this country. What do you mean? I mean, you can give them money for more, you know, or give them leases cheaper, I suppose, which you will not make, you know, an equivalent amount of money on. You give them tax breaks, I suppose. What's the carrot and what's the stick? What are you talking about?
Bring down.
Are the Saudis okay with that, says Corgiro. The Saudis are running out of oil anyways. They are oil poor. Let's see. I'll show you something real quick. And the reason he says we've got more than Saudi Arabia is because they've used it all up, basically. So transition from petroleum. There's a this has been going on for years. I've been talking about this. Yeah, there you go. Saudi Arabia hits milestone in shift away from oil. Saudi Arabia now sets its eyes on the new oil, aims to boost mining revenue, $64 billion by 2030. Saudi Arabia responds to Trump's call to lower oil. They don't care. Beyond oil, Saudi Arabia's $2.5 trillion mining revolution. Saudi Arabia's transformation from oil to green energy. What Saudi 2030 means for the future of oil, because that's their line, 2030, because they know there will be, whether we join in it or not, a huge shift away from petroleum for consumer cars, which will cadaver the price of liquid fucking gold.
Prices and your energy costs are going to go way down, and that'll happen, I think, relatively quickly. I'm going to get.
That's because there's going to be a fucking surplus of oil because of China this year. The reason he thinks this isn't because of his policies, isn't because of drilling. Like, explorative drilling doesn't work like that. It takes months and years, and to get permits and then start. Even if he was just like, I don't want any environmental impact studies, just start fucking drilling. Doesn't mean you're going to find oil and you're going to move around until you do, and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, China oil demand shrinks, something like that. Yeah, there you go. This is last year. Go away. China's slowing oil demand growth is likely to persist and could impact markets. You think? By the way, Besant knows this. Everybody around Trump knows this. They don't give a fuck what he's saying in public. None of it matters. It's the same shit. China oil products demand begins decline from 2023, peak researcher says. Now, because anybody tell me in the chat room why oil products beyond just crude oil for gasoline is meaningful? Anybody? Chat room. Anybody? Yes, there we go. Plastic. That's right. If China doesn't sell a bunch of shit, then they don't have stuff that they can turn into plastic. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's one of my favorite words, naphtha. I think Bill the cat should be the spokesperson for naphtha. Naphtha. Yes, it was a question. Plastics, that's exactly right. So China not using as much oil is certainly a thing. Certainly, oil and gas and natural gas, yes, they're importing the majority of their energy, 80% of their energy they import from outside, but they also import a shit ton of naphtha for making plastics. And if China needs less precursors for plastic, what do you think that says about what they plan on actually producing from the country? Is that a good sign or a bad sign from an economic standpoint? Yeah. Do you think this asshole knows what naphtha is? And do you think somebody's going to mention it to him, he's going to mispronounce it, and then he's going to explain how he just figured it out? And most people don't know this, but oil is where we make plastic. We've got all this liquid plastic right under our feet. Also, some people were talking about like Vaseline. In South America, let's see, let's see, the many benefits of petroleum jelly. Let's see. There's a food grade Vaseline. You can get food grade Vaseline. Don't buy the actual one. Let's see. All right, eating petroleum jelly in South America. There are a few tribes that like put Occidental South America struggles balance oil. It's zero. It's never. I'm never gonna be able to find it at the drop of a hat in here. It's just looking at bottles and shit like that. Eating petroleum jelly in South America. Okay, there. Petroleum jelly, also known as Vaseline, is technically edible. However, here it is. There you go. Hold on. However, experts recommend using it only for external purposes. Well, semi-external. While some manufacturers claim their jelly is edible and the FDA certifies it's primarily intended for external use, and it's not. Can you eat petroleum jelly? Is petroleum jelly bad for you? Live strong. It's a lot of RFK Jr. I guarantee it's a spoonful of fucking petroleum jelly every day. I guarantee it. It's one of those like I did my own research, and it's like, and it goes through me like sump grease through a 10-year-old goose. Yeah. Fuck. There was a story I read years ago, and it won't come to the top. It'll annoy me. It's just here to aggravate me. Let's see. Maybe if I just put tribes eating petroleum jelly in South America. There's no eating petroleum jelly in South America. Occidental South America living indigenous, ultra cannibal, or the sheep tribes, indigenous people, horticulture, blah blah blah. Suppositories? Oh, here you go. Native American culture or indigenous culture, I suppose. Suppositories? Yeah, a native made it. More indigenous inventions that changed our world. By the way, isn't everyone indigenous to somewhere? Yeah? Isn't everything invented by an indigenous person if it's invented in the country they were born in? At all, anyways? Okay, whatever. I get where they're going. I appreciate it, but there you go. Suppositories, spinning tops, mouthwash, and sunscreen. Of course, what they used for, to make it, that's another thing entirely.
Environmental approval for anybody building a plant for electric generation, and anybody that invests more than $1 billion will get super rapid approval. Not that they have to wait for 9 years, 14 years.
Yes, so any rich person in the world that wants to toxify America, poison our people, poison our water, poison our streams, poison our air, come on over. If you got $1 billion, you can just, it used to cost you more than that to create a chemical weapon. Now you can just build a factory that chokes that shit out into the air. Isn't that great? Just build it down from a school someplace. You can turn the whole United States into Louisiana.
Like I approved LNG plants in Louisiana. They were waiting for so many years.
Yes, because apparently they had pegged the needle on cancer clusters and didn't feel like they needed anymore.
Wasn't Louisiana's fault. It was some people. They just wouldn't get them done. You've got to snap.
Some people, Gary and his friend Sam, they just fucking wouldn't let it happen. We wanted it, and they're like, nope, sitting on their lawn chairs. Someplace in down here in Louisiana, we ain't gonna have no LNG plants up in here. We got no kind of plants we have, the kind you can chew, the kind you can collar, the kind you can green, the kind you can steam, and the kind you grind into a fine powder, pour in some lake water, and shove it up your keister to fix your digestion. That's right what we do down here in Louisiana. Come on.
Here, a tiny tree here, and I got it done in a matter of a few days. I actually got it done. It took them 14 years. I got it done in about 3 days. The people, as we call,
there are people in the crowd from Louisiana, and they're like,
called them. I'll never forget. I called them and I said, "Congratulations, you got your permit." What? They were so shell shocked. They didn't know what the hell was happening. They're going to spend.
They're like, why would you do that? We didn't think you'd let us build it so close to a school.
And they spent about $16 billion on each plant, and they've been.
No, they didn't. They did not spend $16 billion on each plant.
Roaring since then, but we got them done in a matter of a few days. Over the past week, we've begun the largest deregulation campaign in history, far exceeding even the record-setting efforts in my first term. That was record-setting.
That's right. Nothing took us from sensible regulations to trains full of toxic chemicals crashing into shitty little towns in Indiana and Ohio faster.
Deregulation, and that was just as big as tax cuts as far as business and jobs were concerned. I'll tell you. I actually asked, it's interesting because I actually asked some of the biggest
You actually asked them?
Businessmen in the country. I said,
why? Don't you know everything about it? Have they not? Were you just quizzing them on how well they knew art of the deal?
Let me ask you, if you had the choice between the big tax cuts, we cut it from 40% to 21%. We're going to cut it further.
No, you're not.
But we cut it down to 20. Everybody said that would be impossible. The people on the stage helped us with that one a lot. But I said, if you had your choice of that or the big deregulation cuts, what would you take? These are the guys that run the big companies, the big oil companies, the big companies.
Oh, yeah, we could. I don't care too much about paying taxes. I got ways around that, and I got to go to accounting and all that thing. What I want is you just eliminate that bullshit about I can't dump mercury in water that leads to drinking fountains where children congregate. What kind of bullshit is that? I should be able to dump any chemical I want anywhere there's a free open field. If I'm driving across town, I dump that shit right out in front of that. That's what I want. I don't care if it's next to a hospital.
Of every kind. I said, would you take the big tax cut or the big cut in regulations? And
and they went, we already had a big tax cut. I think the next thing was probably regulations. You can't get a bigger tax cut because it drove the deficit up and you're already in deep shit. So regulations. By the time people realize the damage, they've already got cancer.
Never had anybody said they'll take the tax cut. They took the regulation cut.
I'd much rather pollute.
I'll bet I asked that question 100 times to 100 of the biggest people. They
Really? You only asked them once? I would pester them about it.
Tom, they always said, sir, we'll take the regulation cut. You opened us up. You let us create all these jobs that we've all seen happen. So
now I just want to be able to fire people without cause, and apparently there's a regulation against that. I want to be able to fire all the women that aren't up to my attractiveness standards, or any of them that file an HR report on sexual harassment. Like, there's regulations about it. If you could get rid of that shit, so that I could basically hire everybody that looks like Dora Lee from 9 to 5 and all the positions and make them all afraid to lose their job. H-1B visas for models doing clerical work. That one, could you get rid of?
It was even bigger than the big tax cut. I also signed an order to end the weaponization of our government against the American people and investigate all abuses of power. And I stopped government censorship once and for all, and we brought back free speech to America. That's what happened. We're going to burn it.
Oh, by the way, apparently Doge is having an impact. Somebody just pointed this out in the chat room. Thank you. I didn't see who it was. It went by too fast. This is, you know, those guys who are going to build a big plant, and they're like, oh shit, we believe in Trump, so we're going to invest and we're going to grow. And oh well, huh? That's a rough one. Gee, it's almost like this asshole wants to automate all of his facilities. Huh? This is funny. So let me get this straight. The guy who's building humanoid robots is all about getting rid of people doing jobs, and you think he's going to help you with unemployment and getting people back to work and opening factories where people will. That's funny. That dude's such an asshole. Why would you think that? Okay, wait. Why does this? What does that? What does that do for you? Why would you do that? Why do you have to do that? It did say Jehovah. Okay, there we go. Get this back open, and this back open. Okay, there we go. Stop flickering. Does anybody know how to shut that off? I gotta ask Rob Glenn. No, I'll just ask ChatGPT. I don't even know why I'm bothering him right now. It's sad. Okay, here we go.
Right back. Because we didn't have free speech. We didn't have free speech. I mean,
no, we didn't have free speech. You've heard me say it a lot of times, and no one stopped me.
I was investigated more than any human being in history. Alphonse Capone was a baby. Now, this was a serious killer. Scarface,
What was a baby? Alphonse Capone. Look, history lesson, everybody. Gather around. Apparently, I don't know much about this story, but apparently there's this fellow, Alphonse Capone, and he was a baby.
all heard of Scarface. He had a scar for a reason. He didn't play games, but he was Scarface. Of course.
Apparently, he played Bet You Can't Cut My Face and lost.
Nobody ever called him Scarface to his face.
To his Scarface?
They said, Al, you look great today. Guy had a scar that was like 2 inches thick that ran.
No, he didn't. What? Okay, what? Hold on. Look, Al Capone had a scar, but let's calm down. Hold on. Yeah. Where's a picture of Al Capone? Why are the picture's so small? Fucking 20s. Open image in new tab. Should raise expand it. Yeah, big two. That's his nose, asshole. He had a big, you can see it, the big scar. The Al Capone Scarface. It's over. It's in this general. People would. He hated being called Scarface. He'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I don't have a scar on my face." No, there's not a. Let's see. Hold on. Where's the? Yeah, that's an old picture. I don't see any. Where's the? Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they didn't call him Fat Face. Like Pillow Face would have worked as well. I mean, maybe, you know what? Maybe you're misunderstanding. He wore a scarf a lot. Maybe they were really impressed by his choice of scarves and called him Scarf Ace, and you got confused. They called him Scarf Ace. Biggest, most beautiful scarves like you've never seen.
From here to here, they say, Al, you.
No, he didn't. Play stupid.
Fantastic. But Scarface was not investigated as much as your president was investigated. And it turned out to be a positive thing for me. Can you believe it? It turned out to be, we got a lot of votes. I think we got a lot of votes because they saw it was weaponization. It was a fight against a political opponent.
No, 100% immigration, racism, and the suckers that fell for the Gaza shit. and attack Democrats over it. That's what 100%. That was the margin. He didn't get a giant fucking mandate. That's what it was.
The end to all of the lawless diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense policies across the government and all across.
Well, the name of them. What's really going to be upsetting to him is when he finds out that there are a bunch of people who happen to be black, happen to be gay, happen to be female, happen to be disabled, but are actually the best person they could find for the job. And he's like, "You're fired. Get out of here, DEI." And you're like, "Wait, come back. Nobody knows how to run this the way you do."
It's the private sector and the military. We got it. We're getting it out, and we've gotten it out pretty much. We did that in 1 week, and it wasn't that easy, but everybody wanted it. People that were strongly in favor of it, I thought, called me and said, "Thank God you got rid of that. That was so bad. It was so bad. We hated it."
Yeah. AOC and Bernie Sanders both called him and on the secret progressive line. That's what. Yeah, that happened.
We abolished 60 years of prejudice and hatred with the signing of one order, all approved by the Supreme Court of the United States. It was a big thing, and the United States has become a meritocracy again. We are a country that's based.
Does he mean affirmative action, which had nothing to do with him, had to do with the case against Harvard and like that? Again, just taking credit for something that happened around his period of time that he was in power.
Now on merit for success. Merit.
Really? The irony that you're the president.
If you're good at what you do, you're going to go places. I made it and who would...
I'm fantastic at what I do. And you're right. He's look, ladies and gentlemen, I'll give him credit for a broken clock moment. I'm fantastic at this. I'm very charming, very funny, and quite knowledgeable, if I do say so my damn self. And I am going places, ladies and gentlemen. After I'm done doing the show in my office, I will be going upstairs to eat.
I thought that was going to happen. We didn't even talk about that one because I figured that one was going to be toughest to get. And so we are now, if you do a meritorious job, if you do something where you're just outstanding, you advance. Oh yeah, I agree. People are subscribing right now because they know that this is a crucial thing. They recognize my qualifications and they're clicking the subscribe button right now because they're afraid not to. That's what I do. I rule my roost as an independent influencer with an iron fist. And that's what it's about. Well, a rubber one. I'm way more gentle than some of these because they get cold, and that's not right. At least a rubber one, you can put it in the microwave, not for a long time. 15 seconds ought to do it. Or just put it in a tub of water. Never mind. It's about competition, and it's about a lot of things, and the other becomes a very dangerous plateau. We were on that plateau too long, and it's one of the reasons that you saw very bad things happening with our country. I made it. Is it? That was what it was? Very bad things were happening? The official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. Those are not genders, those are sexes. Just real quick. He also, in that same order, made me a woman. I don't know. And by the way, all former men in the audience, I would like to, I guess, congratulate you, or I don't know how you feel about it, or offer my sympathy that you are now a woman, depending on how you feel about it, because they set the standard at conception, your gender at conception, your sex at conception. Well, all mammals are inherently female. In 7 weeks, you start to differentiate, but at the beginning, you're female. So we're all female now. It's great. So sorry, Lauren Boebert. If I gotta pee, I'm coming in. I can use the room because legally this dickhead made me a woman. Till he fixes it, I don't know. I am going to go in the men's room if I need to, though, because ladies' prerogative. Gee, that was a tough one. Some of these people said 7 genders. I'm trying to say, go and name them. They got some weird stuff going on. No, we have two genders. I renamed
Two sexes. Gender's a descriptive. Sex is a definition. We're adults. We can talk openly.
the Gulf of Mexico.
Hal, hold on, wait. Hal, when someone approaches you from behind and thinks you're a woman with long hair, you can't get offended because you are one. Well, I don't get offended anyways, if I may say so. Big Steph fan, and I enjoy being misgendered from behind. Like, hey, who's the beautiful woman with the broad shoulders? I got no problem with that whatsoever. I mean, the misgendering doesn't last long. I am not growing the beard as a defensive measure. Fuck you guys.
The Gulf of America, and we are restoring the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley in Alaska in honor of the incredible people of the state of Ohio who loved their governor and loved the man that became president. He was the big tariff sheriff, they used to call him, and made a lot of money. Our country became very rich, and when he was assassinated.
Yeah, our country became very rich compared to everybody else because the rest of the world was just entering the industrial age, and we were ahead of them. So we were producing a lot of stuff. Not because that's the best way to make money. This asshole thinks that that was the richest we was back then. Now, robber barons were. You think the 1% owns a lot of shit now? Anybody want to look like what life in shanty towns and like rural areas was like in that period? You think it was the richest? You think like Americans of all stripes? He thinks, I think, because everybody was walking around in a suit, that meant everybody was well-to-do, instead of like you literally passed your suit down from father to son. That's where the fuck like cravats and ties came from. It's because you couldn't afford to get your shirt tailored, so you'd cinch it up. That's how you knew the difference, because like the like in French aristocracy and British aristocracy, they had big open collars because they could afford to have it tailored to their actual neck. Everybody else had to just like, it was like a belt for your fucking shirt.
Teddy Roosevelt became president, and he spent all of that money that was made from tariffs.
Tonight we're gonna party like it's 1859. What are you doing? It looks sexy. Making butter fucking sucks. All right.
Money was so enormous, and they built the thing called the Pan.
That's true. Dollar bills were like this big back then. They look like a page out of a, like, you ever buy those Garfield comic books where they put the strips in them from the newspaper, and there's like two on a page? Dollar bills were about that size.
Panama Canal, you might have read about this lately. It's become a hot subject because China essentially has taken it over, and we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let
what, the essential part, or
that happen. It was the biggest investment to this day ever made by the country. In other words, if you bring it up to modern day numbers, we spent money that we've never spent anything so.
Yeah, okay, the interstate highway system, the fucking electrical grid, the fucking NORAD, the fucking Pentagon. Shut up. Not even close to true. It was it was a huge undertaking at the time, and it was singular in what it did. But like our investment in our nuclear program was more expensive ultimately, and obviously the death toll was higher.
So much. We've never had so many people die. 38,000 people died building the Panama Canal.
Yeah, but from malaria. They weren't being fired on by natives.
110 years ago. And they gave it away for $1. It's also one of the most profitable things ever built. You know, ships are lined up back to Florida trying to get through. We're not gonna let that happen.
No, they're not.
Wasn't the deal. We didn't give it to China.
And by the way, the reason sometimes they're backed up is because the fucking Panama Canal is failing. They're trying to create an alternative to it through Mexico because there's not enough rainwater because climate change is fucking up the Panama Canal. Hold on, real quick. Panama Canal crisis, water locks. There we go. The Panama Canal is facing a crisis due to dropping water in the Gatun Lake, which is causing restrictions on the number of ships that can go through the canal. Number of transits dropped from 38 to 24 a day by November 23, leading to long queues at nearby ports. The critical water cushion that lifts and lowers ships through a series of locks is deflating due to repeated droughts disrupted by a key global trade route and impacting Panama's economy. Yeah, it's losing money for them, and everybody's trying to find another option. Fuck, this guy's dumb. Jesus, they're backed up. Yeah, because they don't have enough water to pass them through. Because the oceans are not at the same level, shit stain. And so you got to move the boat in, you got to fill it up with water, and then it's got to move forward, and then you got to drain the water, and then the water comes back in, and You know why? You know why the ships are backed up? You know why, fuckwad? Because the investment you would need to use seawater to pump in there instead of the fucking lakes would be enormous. Almost equal to the cost of the initial canal itself. Jesus Christ. I know more about wet trousers than anybody. All right, Jesus.
Gave it to Panama, sort of.
No, Al, it's the flat Earth. It's all the same level. Properly. Yeah, that's also one of the problems they have.
Perhaps most importantly, I declared a national emergency to stop the invasion of our southern border. We're going to stop that invasion. We've already done it.
Yeah, it was so good it happened under Biden by never occurring.
And today in Tijuana, you probably saw I got a call from Tom Homan and some of the people. They said, sir, it's unbelievable. There is nobody. You have this huge area. It's a gathering area. It's always been packed with these people. What they did to our country is so unbelievable.
It hasn't always been packed. It's been packed post-COVID because of a bunch of South American countries collapsed because of it, entered an economic recession, all sorts of reasons. Then other people gathering from around the world because of it, because they're trying to get in. But because of COVID, not because they're like, oh, fuck, San Diego.
That they could do this to our country is so horrible. But he said there's nobody there. And then they actually put it on television. I got to see it. And there was literally not one person, this vast area where people stay there all day long, and they just walk right into our country. They just unchecked. No way. No. No. There's not a place in Tijuana where people walk unchecked into the United States. That's one of the areas where there was wall before you even started. What are you talking about? That isn't Tijuana, motherfucker. Check-in for IDs like voter ID. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat. They wanted these people to come in because they want to cheat too. But who could allow this to happen?
Real quick, I'm just going to put this in there, and you can percolate it and let it filter through your brain. If Democrats cheat, and they're really good at cheating, and they managed to do it, and they had all the tools to do it, and they could have cheated in this last one and beat him just by cheating, then the fact that they didn't means that something bad is coming, and they don't want to be anywhere near it when it happens. And that there's, whether it's AI or automation taking away jobs, or the necessary introduction of some version of UBI or something like that. The only logic, if they actually could cheat and didn't, is because they didn't actually want to win, because everybody knows that in like 3 years we're hitting a wall of all kinds of crazy shit, and they'd rather you be there to take the hit than Democrats. Learning the lesson, of course, that Democrats are usually there to clean up the mess for Republicans, and this time around, they'll just let you walk into the rake themselves. It's a thought, just floating it. Not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that logically it makes a tremendous amount of sense.
There wasn't one person standing in this massive an area that's like 5 football fields that was packed for years under these horrible people that wanted to kill our country.
Maybe it was soccer fields?
We halted all illegal entry. We have successfully ended catch and release, and we're deporting 100% of all new trespassers apprehended. at the border, and nobody's coming in, and nobody's coming now because they know they're not going to be able to come in. So we've really stopped something.
By the way, that's why they're making a big stink about this. Never mind the fact that he's got to do this as a performative thing for maggots. One of the reasons why Republicans have been for this kind of like crackdown idea, and the child separation stuff from the first term was really about this, was scaring people away from coming. That was the goal, that you make people afraid to come, that it'll never happen, because they feel like if you act humanely and you're open about it, then you entice people to come because they know all they got to do is get in and they'll get access to all these kind of things. And there's a mix of realities about that because it depends on where they went, where they ended up, whether they got those services or whether they didn't. And most of them were rejected. But since Democrats want to be pro-immigrant, even if it means seeming pro-illegal immigrant, there's a tendency by the Biden administration and the Obama administration to not play up the fact that they are punting a bunch of people, especially the worst people, especially, violent criminals or thieves or, domestic violence, people who've committed domestic violence and the like. So they get, they'll push those out at the same number that Trump is doing, but they don't talk about it because they don't want to call attention to it because they don't want to vilify the people who are staying or vilify the people who, who are seeking asylum, for example.
It was very, very serious, but we have to get the bad ones out. We have many murderers, many very bad people in our country that they've allowed because of a ridiculous, actually stupid, open border policy. I've also deployed troops to...
Yeah, again, he's also trying to, take gang members that were born in the United States who are Americans and deport them to South America because they have South American face tattoos because of the gang they're in. It's just stupid.
To the border, and for the first time in history, we're locating and loading illegal aliens into military aircraft and flying them back to the places from which they came.
Right, which is what Colombia's problem was with it. Wasn't the returning of them. It's just instead of using civilian-style airplanes, they were using military cargo planes, and they were like, hey, don't fly military planes over our airspace. That's different. It's kind of the posse comitatus idea of inside the United States having the military police inside, the borders of America. There's still, some countries especially are very touchy about that kind of thing. I don't know why they'd be worried in South America about American, and Raxacor, I do read the chat. It doesn't mean you get to automatically interrupt what I'm saying. Of course I do.
And very importantly, America is respected again. We're respected again. Isn't that nice?
No, they just know if they suck up to you, you'll give them whatever they want. So they can play to your ego. You think they're being respected. America is a dangerous country in the wrong hands, and you are the wrong hand. So everybody's tap dancing around you. That's not respect. That's fear, and I don't think you can tell the difference.
After years of laughing at us like we're stupid people.
No, they're still laughing at you. They specifically laughed at you. There was a report just a couple days ago about how the British team listening in on your phone call, I guess, and leading up to, you haven't talked to Keir Starmer yet, but talking to the other leaders, they were laughing till they were crying. They had to put it on mute.
As you saw yesterday, we've made it clear to every country that they will be taking back our people that we're sending out, the criminals, the illegal...
Our people?
Aliens coming from their countries. We're taking them back, and they're going to take them back fast.
Wait, we're taking them back or they're taking them back? Are they our people or their people? Maybe that's part of the confusion.
And if they don't, they'll pay a very high economic price, and we're going to immediately install massive...
Higher than the cost of a bunch of murderers being dropped into their country, that they don't have any of the evidence against them, so they can't put them in jail legally. And so, what?
Tariffs. It'll be placed on them and other sanctions, but the tariffs, I told you, most beautiful word in the dictionary. I also told you that I said that the first time and I got just absolutely decimated by the fake news, I said it's the most beautiful word, and the fake news said, what about religion? What about God? What about love? So now I say it's the fourth most favorite word.
No, you don't. You just forgot that you're talking to a bunch of Republicans and they want Jesus. Is Jesus in the that Jesus should be in the dictionary. He's in the Bible. He should be in the dictionary under one true Lord. Noun.
In the dictionary.
Jesus, verb, an expression when one hits one's own thumb.
It's God, love. It's all these other things, but I say number 4, but God, love, religion, tariff, 4th. Another couple of weeks, it'll be like 10. Hopefully it's going to stay in the top 10, but the fake news went after me, Tom, because I didn't say the first 3, and now they're going to...
I think Fox is who brought it up.
Now that I say it, immediately say it, I'm sure they're going to find some others. Throughout the week, the heroes of ICE have been hunting down and arresting hundreds of illegal alien criminals per day, including those with charges and convictions for rape, child sexual assault, terrorism, and even murder. Many murders in the crowd, and many of these murderers have committed far more than one murder.
Yeah, he says this all the time because he's talking about a statistical average. He does the same thing with drug dealers, that they're responsible for 500 deaths apiece, so every weed dealer in the fucking country has killed 500 people. They're basically all serial killers, and they all deserve the death penalty. That's where he's leaning with this shit.
This is not going to work out, and we're going to get them the hell out of here. And members of the savage Venezuelan prison gang known as Tren de Agua and MS-13, including...
Try not to choke to death.
50 violent individuals who were rounded up in Aurora, Colorado, which the Venezuelan gang took over. The governor who's arrested.
No, they didn't. Okay, now I'm bored. Real quick, let's jump over to something real quick. I want to show you something. This is him in Las Vegas talking about tips and shit, I think.
Bring down prices. We're going to raise those wages. They're going to go up. They're going to go up. Put more money in your pocket, secure our borders, restore law and order to our cities, and
sprinkle pixie dust on all the magic beans.
We're going to make America great again. And for 4 long years, the last administration waged war on the American middle class and everybody else. They had a lot of wars. We had no wars when I left. You know, they had.
Okay, hey, asshole. Waging war on the middle class is not the same thing as fucking Syria, you weirdo. And also, you bombed Syria. You bragged to Xi Jinping about it over chocolate cake.
We defeated ISIS.
No, you didn't. ISIS-K is who attacked us when we left Afghanistan. ISIS is still in Syria. No, you didn't. You mean the caliphate, you broke it up, and even still, like, they want to reconstitute it. Oy.
And we stayed out. Nobody wanted to mess with us. They had a lot of wars. We're trying to put them out. We'll get them put out. Don't worry, we'll get them put out.
Sorry, he's been talking about fires, so he doesn't understand that you don't put out wars. Also, I guess he's going to put out.
And we stayed out. Nobody wanted to mess with us. They had a lot of wars. We're trying to put them out. We'll get them put out. Don't worry, we'll get them put out. We were headed to World War III. I'm telling you, we would have had problems like you wouldn't believe. They shut down American energy.
You're right. I don't believe you.
Buried you in crippling regulation, imposed hidden taxes, and spent trillions and trillions of dollars on waste, corruption, and radical left lunacy. These were lunatics. The result was the most brutal inflation in a half a century, perhaps ever, in this country, I think.
No, specifically a half century, and we had equal, in the 90s a couple times, because of, and none of them were preceded by a pandemic, for the record.
Ever.
That the previous president had let run amok.
And soaring prices for food, groceries, and other household goods
are coming right down. They're coming right down, right down. It's coming right down. Hey. Any second.
The people of Nevada are now paying nearly $1,200 per month more to make ends meet since I left office. Think of that, $1,200 at least. But since I became
same thing happens in almost every single term.
the 47th president at noon on Monday, I've been moving with urgency and historic speed to fix every single calamity of the Biden administration that they've created. And this week alone, I took nearly 350 executive actions to reverse.
By the way, this was him just following orders from the Heritage Foundation. That is all 100% him sitting there while somebody from the Heritage Foundation with a stack of fucking bills just went, sign this, and he's like, how about this one? How about that? That's a big one. This is a big one. This should distract people away from the fact that I'm not releasing the Epstein files for a couple more days. So, okay, that's the extent of, I mean, I don't need any more of him. We do have to check in on his ward. Now, I have to warn you, this is J.D. Vance having a Q&A with reporters about hurricane relief and FEMA in North Carolina, where they need federal dollars, and allegedly the federal government left people high and dry. They did not, and there's already money allocated, some of which might be cut by Trump's freeze on things, but it's hard to say because he's a dumbass and nobody knows. They're all seeking clarification right now. But I must warn you, if there's too much charisma here for you, I don't know, maybe you could shield your eyes or, yeah, I don't know, maybe dim the lights around you or whatever. Get some chunky monkey and just a spoon, something to soften the blow. Hi, everybody. I'm cosplaying as a closeted country star.
White X. Okay. Here we are. Great. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. It's great to be back in Damascus. I visited during the campaign trail, and the governor was kind enough to show me around, not just last time, but this time as well. Okay, my question is, who broke your arms? What is this thing about people who just, like, hey, everybody, welcome. Look, I know you don't have anything in front of you, but there's nothing wrong with adding some hand gestures to what you're doing and addressing things. Not good. This kind of like drapey, I got Novocaine in my elbows look is, it's not inspiring confidence is all I'm saying.
As you all know, I love the Appalachian region of our country, especially.
Especially when I hear banjo music and my canoe is busted.
This particular part, it's beautiful, the people are kind and friendly, and they've got a great community here.
And especially that kid, man, where you're like, that kid, he can tell you some stories. He's older now.
Obviously got slammed very hard by the hurricane, and I think, unfortunately, while the people have done an incredible job at rebuilding this community, they have not had a federal government that's really been on their side. I've heard so many stories just in the last hour that I've been on the ground of federal agencies that have not developed and deployed the resources necessary, of federal bureaucrats that have been a barrier as opposed to a facilitator of some of the federal resources.
Yeah, tell us what those were. I'd love to hear them. Yeah, give us a, anecdotally, give us. You've heard a bunch of these stories. I would like to hear one of them, right? Wouldn't you guys? Chat room, wouldn't you like to hear, the details of one of these situations? Because I'm sure they would hold up to scrutiny. I'm sure they are exactly what he says. And I'm sure that none of it will be about locals pushing back against stuff or other government agencies from local states superseding FEMA or trying to do an end run around things or people stealing resources or anything. I'm sure it's nothing like that. And I understand that that's probably why you're just going to go. I mean, just list a few. I just feel like, when I'm in there, I'll give you guys some details. If I go, hey, I just talked to some people about this and these were the issues and these were the issues. For example, this by November 5th, and this we had an issue around December 12th. It was that's been remedied now because we talked to them and we fixed that. We've been reasonable, like those kind of, right? That wouldn't be difficult, would it? If you're like, we had, the people have been barriers to stuff. For example, we had water shipments coming in and they weren't cleared first with the federal government, and the locals were trying to circumvent that, and they were getting pushback. They weren't letting trucks through because they didn't understand. Right? That would be a story, right? Then I'd go, oh, okay, I can see maybe that's an issue with coordination and communication, but it doesn't sound like they're trying to shut the state down. So maybe that's why you're not mentioning any of this shit. Maybe you're just kind of creating this "the government sucks" storyline so you can magically fix stuff that ain't broken.
I think the country has decided collectively that we want to help the regions of our country that were devastated by this flood. So
yeah, I mean, obviously you don't, and Rand Paul doesn't, and Donald Trump's against it, and he thinks Oklahoma should fix their own tornado damage, and there's a bunch of Republicans in the Freedom Caucus that agree with them unless it's their state.
why are the bureaucrats not doing the American people's will and frankly holding up some of the aid here?
Okay, what's the holdup? I don't know. What was the holdup? Explain it to us. Let me just put it this way. He's lying. This isn't fudging the truth. This isn't manipulating the narrative. This isn't playing fast. He's lying. This is bullshit. It already works. He walked in after lying about it, realizing it already works. Things are already getting up to speed because that's how much time it takes, because it's a difficult situation. Roads were washed out. Areas are hard to get to. They're using facilities and they have to coordinate with the states. That kind of stuff. That takes time and money and attention. And as it rolls out, and they're always allocating this money, you know, as the damage is coming, and, you know, there's obviously this cushion around hurricane season, but it didn't extend to North Carolina, for example, because they don't usually get hit this hard. So it's working fine. And what he's going to do is roll in and go, this place was fucking broken, and now I fixed it. And everybody's going to go, yeah, everything works great now. Yeah, because the roll-up that happened before you showed up, asshole.
I want to hear from the governor here in a second, but let me just say one last thing.
Do you? Please let this be the last thing we ever hear from this asshole.
I've been the Vice President of the United States for all of 7 days.
And 8 is too many. I agree. We accept your resignation. And please, what is this outfit? You look like a scoutmaster who's just had his hard drive seized by the FBI. I'm very concerned. You look like a middle manager who still has dreams of being a country star if he could just convince his husband to let him sing. Also, what's with the big space between JD and Vance? Did you tell him you just wanted JD on there, and then you're like, yeah, you should probably put Vance, and they like came back in and the thing was like off kilter, and you're like, it's fine, I'll just take it. It's fine, I'll take it.
This is, I think, my 7th day on the job, and this is an incredible place.
Wait, so you've been vice president for 7 days, and this is your 7th day on the job? Okay, move over, Besant. We've got somebody who can handle the economy. This guy knows numbers.
To have my first official trip, I heard so many good stories of.
You heard? He's already code switching for the locals. I heard so many good stories.
People helping their neighbors rebuild.
Bad people. Good people helping bad people. Like a bad neighbor, State Farm is gone.
Of a woman at a church helping an elderly woman clean off photographs that were destroyed or at least damaged by the.
So she was cleaning destroyed photographs, obviously. So were they miming?
Flood. Of people who have volunteered their time, have come out of retirement.
What was she cleaning off the photographs? Was this were they lost in the flood and swept away? Or did she try to smuggle them out of the house in an untoward way? Inquiring minds want to know.
Volunteered and donated their money to help people rebuild or fix houses. This is just
yeah, it's called charity. Can I introduce you to a human being you might have heard of? Jimmy fucking Carter. He'd be out there with a fucking hammer and nail, asshole.
Incredible place with incredible people. And I'm honored to be the vice president of a country that's as kind and generous as the people here in Damascus. So we're going to try to make sure the federal government does right by them. And I'm going to go back to Washington with that message and that directive from the people here on the ground.
I think they can hear you. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but you can. They can get this in D.C. They have computers there, and they can watch. Nothing for nothing. How was that vocal a double harmonic? Yes. Yeah, Damascus, Syria. That's what he's talking about. Where you can, I think you can still buy Hitler stamps. I mean, that might be gone because Assad left. So now that Assad's out, they're probably going to take Hitler off the stamps. It'll be a process though, because you don't want to shock the social order.
In Damascus, it's great to be here. And let me just say one final thing.
No, that was supposed to be your last. That other thing was supposed to be your final thing. So this really better be the final thing.
They're very, very, I think, blessed to have one hell of a governor in Glenn Youngkin. Thank you, Governor.
Bless you, sir.
Yeah.
Bless you, sir. First of all, welcome to Virginia. And we're just so honored to have you here. Mr. Vice President, thank you for keeping your word.
Oh, he's in Damascus, Virginia. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. When you were here.
Fuck North Carolina. I guess Trump went to North Carolina. Virginia only gets him. And by the way, they just drove.
Here in October, right after this devastating hurricane, you said you'd be back. And we are so honored
that you drove to Virginia, which is, here's D.C., Virginia's right there.
that this is your first official visit. And so thank you. The words that the Vice President shared are so accurate. This community withstood a devastating storm. Where we are...
You should see where those pictures that they were cleaning off. Not only were the pictures filth, but what was on them. I mean, look, we all got scared when the floodwaters rose.
Standing was literally deep, deep, deep with water, with mud.
Really? Was it literally deep, deep, deep with water? Was it deep, deep, deep undercover?
Businesses were washed away. Houses were washed away.
I guess not the one behind you, but okay.
And the community has responded. And we find ourselves now looking back in awe of the heroes that's had over 100 swiftwater rescues that saved lives, of the communities that came together and said, we're going to rebuild together. But what we also see is the federal government has really ground to a halt in getting the resources to us.
Really? It sounds like you're taking those resources from them, Mr. Bootstrapper.
There was a very...
You know what you should call? You should call California.
Large...
Because it's their tax dollars that are going to pay for this.
We are passed with a lot of disaster funding in it, and that money needs to flow. And what I so appreciate is the Vice President and the President understand that the funds are available, but the funds...
The funds are available. Oh. And it hurts to stand like that. Like, how do you compress your spine like that? Jesus.
Have to get to the people to use them. And so we are ready.
I'm not going to use people just because they're in a desperate situation, you pig.
We are already rebuilding homes. We are already rebuilding businesses.
Yeah, we got all the plywood we can stand.
We are ready to work as your prototype project on how to do this in an accelerated way. And I think everybody here is encouraged to hear the Vice President's words that we're going to go to work together in order to streamline.
Yeah, everybody, I'm sure in that area that has fucking mud stains all over what's left of their floor and half of their house caved in is going, phew, at least he sent J.D. Vance over here to look around.
Streamline these processes to get the bureaucracy and the red tape out of the way.
So that people can buy, build right back where things were, even if toxins from upstream came in and will give them cancer later. Let them build a home where it was. Who cares if it's downstream from a coal mine and there's a bunch of the leftover coal sleuth that's in one of those lagoons and it just overflowed and spread in there and will cause respiratory illnesses. Fuck it. Just slap a shack on that fucker and go back to work, asshole.
So that Virginians and Tennesseans and North Carolinians and South Carolinians and Georgians and the folks...
And Floridians and Louisianians and Kentuckians and Indianians and Ohioans and Illinoisians, which is kind of appropriate, and New Yorkers and Massachusettsers are all like, and Vermonters, which... sounds like a hobby.
Florida can get the resources that we need, and particularly as we see the devastating fires in California, there's another process there to be had. So
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we realize there's work to do there as well. Thanks. You're awesome, Youngkin. Way to really put your thumb on, on the pulse of America's concerns about weather, climate, and environmental disaster.
Mr. Vice President, I cannot tell you what it means
That's Glenn Youngkin, Karate Joe.
to this community, to Southwest Virginia, to Virginia as a whole.
He's also, by the way, I don't know if people know this, but Glenn Youngkin's not only the governor of Virginia, but he also is the winner of the looks like a guy who did a walk-on in a sitcom in 1986 lookalike contest. You know, that guy who did the walk-in and said one line and then... That's the type. That's what you're looking for. Excuse me. Is that someone's Toyota outside? And then... transition and go to commercial.
For you to be here and to work with us to make sure that when we are rebuilding...
He's like, wait, work with you? Excuse me. Who do you think I am? Ben Shapiro? You see me holding a bag with a plank of wood in it? Work. Not fucking Jimmy Carter. We send people, okay?
We are rebuilding in a way that everybody in the nation can say...
Sorry, Gumpla Couple says, how I think the odd arm dangle is part of a body mechanic messaging. If you stand there with your arms folded or your hands in your pockets, you seem disinterested. Parade rest arms behind the back would not work, but image consultants think this is better. No, I don't think so. I think the reality is that's where, like, you can put your hands together. This is a common one, these two together, which is sort of a working stance. It's militaristic and strong, but it also conveys that you're there and your body is engaged, right? So you can stand there like this and you can gesture and go like that. You'll see Newsom do it because he came out of a dispenser that makes politicians and he's really good at it. But that's one of them. It's almost like the martial arts salute, but there's a version of it like this, right? That helps. The other thing you can do is there's nothing wrong with a hand on the hip that's commanding, because people, when you're pointing to an area, that kind of thing, that makes it look like you are aware. Don't go too high with your arm, though. I think that would be crucial, unless you're Elon Musk, in which case that's the whole point. But the idea is you can put one hand on your hip and speak like this, hand forward or hand out. The other thing, too, is both hands out. That's easy enough to do. Here we have a situation where this is happening and this is happening. This is not difficult if you're in the public eye to pick up over time, if that helps.
That's the way to do it.
Absolutely.
That's the way to do it.
Great. We'll take a few questions, guys.
But only nice ones and that I already know the answer to.
Yeah.
Mr. Vice President, one of the things that I've heard from people that have been affected by the is they knew that there was a potential of maybe a flood, not to this magnitude, but they couldn't afford flood insurance even if they wanted to.
Sure.
Is there anything that your administration is doing to maybe lower some of those insurance costs?
Well, first of all, as the governor said, the most important thing that we're doing is trying to pick up and fill the gap where the insurance isn't necessarily available. And there's been about $4 billion that's been earmarked for the state of Virginia. Only about $47 million has actually been delivered or even promised to be delivered to the state of Virginia. So really what we're going to have to do where there are major...
Oh, and Trump just froze all that, didn't he?
...gaps in flood insurance is to ensure that the people's government is actually helping people rebuild and recover after these terrible floods actually happen.
Yeah, but is it going to, we're not hearing any talk about making them, like forcing them to move like he did in California, because it's a dangerous area. These are just going to get worse. I mean, you live in a flood zone now, so you should probably not be able to rebuild. Why should they insure you? Capital markets. What do you even fucking free market, bro?
There are things that we can do to make flood insurance more available. I think there's some regulatory changes that we can engage in.
You mean make it easier for them to say they're not going to pay?
But the most important immediate thing that people here need is help recovering, help rebuilding.
Good point, Gumpla Couple. Yeah, these guys don't have anybody around them who go, yeah, you kind of, standing like that, you look stupid and weak. It's a bad combo.
And that's what we're going to do. The basic thrust of Donald Trump's administration,
also,
whether it's defense...
Fuck you. Also, I would like to point out the fact that some of you might know that in the South, putting your thumbs in your jeans is not considered like lazy or no good or, you know, or disinterested or whatever. It literally is like how people who, you know, work on farms stand a lot. You put your thumbs in your pockets and let your hands hang. They could absolutely do that in this area and get away with it. I mean, you don't have to code shift in these situations, but if you can stand around in these, and again, I have my theory about how, you know, people stand in the presence of leaders. A lot of times you'll see soldiers. There's always this, like, the guys who are second in line, you know, are covering their dick, and they're like, it's all about your dick, boss. It's all about your dick. I don't have a dick. Not me. You know, that's, nope, I'm covering my dick, and the only dick that matters is yours, sir. That, you see a bunch of people standing like this. Then you see people standing with their hands at their sides, which is, it's all about his dick, but if you need a dick, I have one, it's here. You know, it's just, I'm not going to obstruct it. I'm not offering it. It's just kind of there. Just, it's a dick, you know, so if you need a dick, there is a dick here. And then the hands behind the back is the military thing, like, I got a dick. Whatever dick you got, I got a bigger dick. That's what this is for. That's where those stances kind of project, in my way of thinking. You know, again, yours the only dick that matters, sir. Here's a dick if you need it. This is all about my dick, and this is obviously a big dick moment, and you're going to need a big dick, so I've got one. Don't worry about it. That's what those three stances are all about. And of course, this comes from people trying to push their dick down. That's what this means. It's an old thing when your erection was so big, you're like, get down. Comedy. Somebody remember that bit. That's a good one. I should do that again. All right.
This policy to helping people in Damascus is we're putting people over bureaucrats. The bureaucracy has for too long stood in the way of the people's business. That's going to stop, and we're going to fight to make sure it stops every single day.
Hey, real quick, eyeliner, listen, why do you think we have such a bureaucracy? Could it possibly be that at one point when we had enough money, we started handing it out in disaster areas and a lot of people ripped people the fuck off? Maybe we have bureaucracy to make sure that we're not just throwing dollars at people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and giving it to people who need it.
Do you have a timeline of when we might be able to see some of that federal response, Governor, even
timeline? You're adorable.
in some of the state response? There's a
these are vain and vacant promises that I'm not really even aware if I could even commit to them. So I gotta really
home around the corner that's been split in half. This gentleman said that his mother, I don't know if you guys have seen the pictures, he said
was split in half as well.
his mother has had insurance, had flood insurance, but the problem was she couldn't get any
She didn't have house split in half insurance, and the guy was being a dick.
federal insurance, and he said that she's getting run through all this rigmarole, and he's just looking.
Isn't rigmarole downriver? Someone save that woman. Get in a boat, get her. She's somewhere around rigmarole.
For an answer, what could you possibly provide for him?
Look, as soon as possible, right? We need to get back to Washington. We need to figure out what the holdup is and actually power through that holdup for people.
Asshole, no you don't. No you don't. The money's already been allocated. If there's a holdup there, like you said there was, those people are right fucking there. They're either in Virginia in the capital, or they're in Damascus, in the area surrounding it, in charge of handing out help. And also, what do you think? Like, oh shit, we can't do anything till the VP gets back. Fuck are you talking about? Make a phone call, asshole. You don't have to get back and figure out what's going on. It's not even up to you. This is so fucking stupid.
Every single day after today is too long.
What about the last 7 days you've been vice president? I'm sorry, when did this flood happen?
Recognize these things don't always happen as quickly as they can.
Well, they're certainly 7 days later than they probably had to be.
But the big difference now compared to a week ago is that people actually have an administration that's going to help them power through that bureaucracy. We're going to fight for them every single day. We're going to try to get that money.
Why do you have to fight for them? You're in charge of the bureaucracy. The money's already been allocated. Who are you fighting with? Is there some like pencil pushing old lady bureaucrat going, excuse me, that is not a full case of water. Well, only full cases pass here. Or like, who the fuck? This is goofy. Do not, politicians, do not talk about emergency situations like this. It's fucking embarrassing. We're going to fight for you all the way. You're in charge. You don't have to fight, dummy. You have the House and the Senate. What's the fight? Seriously. There is no fight. The money's already been allocated.
As soon as physically possible, because that's what's necessary to help people rebuild.
And I can tell you that we heard from business leaders today that even in the last week, they've seen more movement than they had seen before.
Yeah, but not because the president did any fucking thing about it, but because it took that much time to lead up to it.
And so this is the opportunity.
Based on what? Sorry. No. You don't get to say they're already seeing stuff happen in this area in fucking Virginia, because it's not like Trump prioritized it. He sent this dipshit. He didn't prioritize it. That's just how long it takes to get the stuff going. And to guarantee that they're not just handing money out to rando fuckers who go, I had a trailer right here. It was worth $110,000 and a check would clear me up. Boom. That fucker didn't live here. Nobody knows who that guy is. He's gone now. That's why you have a bureaucracy. You don't care. If in the last 7 days something has changed and they've started to see help, then you need to explain to me what changed in the last 7 days materially, not just who took over, but materially what changed. Who made a phone call? Who insisted that something come? Did Trump make a phone call and they have a record of it where he says this? Otherwise, shut the fuck up. It's just how long shit takes.
For us to, yes, cut through red tape, cut through bureaucracy at the state level.
What are you talking about? What red tape? What bureaucracy? Seriously, it's just fucking, this is so lame. What words, what meaning do these even have? What red tape? What's the rule? What did you have to get around? Just say one. If there's a bunch of it, so much that it has a moniker like red tape, give me one fucking rule. Do you know that in the state of Virginia, after this situation, we ran into a thing where we can't allocate money until people can prove this, this, and this. And the problem is most people's personal documents were washed away. And so they had to find other ways. So we had to use eye scanners and all kinds of stuff and look at medical records and stuff and help them contact. So we're helping them contact people so we know where, wherever they were born, so they can get a copy of their birth certificate. So we know that they lived here and we can check local records. So we're not just handing out money to randos and we're helping them do that. That's how you would do it. And the question is, was anybody holding them back, or is this just part of what sucks about your entire fucking house being washed away?
I have a $127 million budget amendment in to supplement what has already been at least appropriated by the federal government. Now it needs to come out. And
who's stopping you?
And this is a sprint because, as the vice president said, folks can't wait. They've been waiting for 4 months since this storm, and they don't need to wait another day.
Absolutely.
Well, apparently they can wait because they have waited. And what are they waiting for? What's the wait? What is it?
Anybody over here?
Yes. In 7 days of being in office.
No, not in 7 days of being in office. What do you blah, blah, blah. No. Can you tell us one of the regulations or elements of red tape that you have faced specifically, not anecdotally, that either in the governor's office or in the federal side that is stopping aid from coming through? What law would fix this? I don't want to hear anecdotal stories of what it's like to fucking be vice president and ride on Air Force Two. Fuck off with this nonsense. Reporters, ask a genuine question. If they say, we can't do this because of X, have them explain what the fuck X is so you know they can actually solve it.
Office, you have been to 2/3 of all of this devastation. And I want to ask you about East Tennessee being part of the funding to help people. I know a lot of people are appreciative, and we want to know if...
You mean the The funding that was signed into law under Biden that he rushed through with the Republican House and the Democratic Senate.
Tennessee is going to be a part of
4 fucking months ago.
that, and how this is going to energize, how you're going to energize the communities who have been great in helping each other.
Yes, ma'am. So I actually met with a congresswoman from East Tennessee this morning, actually, when we landed. Obviously, we landed actually in Tennessee.
Oh, her, yeah. You guys remember her, right? Congresswoman from East Tennessee? Yeah, she's great, whoever she is. What, you know, old, what's her name? Fuck. The congresswoman from East Tennessee. I mean, there's a couple of districts, but there's a woman. She's in the Congress from East Tennessee, I think. Yeah, anyways, you guys know who she is. You guys know.
And then drove here to Virginia. Look, we recognize that while most of the attention from Helene
You better recognize
is focused on North Carolina in particular, and to be clear, there's a lot of devastation in North Carolina. There's also a lot of devastation here in Virginia and also in East Tennessee. So,
yeah, even before the flooding.
Our promise and our focus is going to be on leaving no American behind. That includes those in Tennessee and certainly here in Damascus.
Sorry, they plan on remaining in those areas. You can't leave them behind. That's where they live. You know what I mean? You can't yell from your own porch, "Go on without me."
President, can you preview at all what some of the specific changes you'd like to see with regard to FEMA's response? And does that include possibly eliminating the agency as the president has suggested?
Well,
okay, that's close to a real question. What would you like to see the changes? What are the changes? Okay, here we go.
First of all, it's not just FEMA, right? There's Housing and Urban Development. There's the Department of Agriculture. There's a lot of different agencies.
Whoa, 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 asshole. 4 months after a major flood by a hurricane, you can't start laying shit off on the Department of Agriculture. What, they're not letting them farm fast enough in the mud, you fucking weirdo?
That are coordinating a response to this particular problem. And a couple of things that particularly seem to matter the most to the people of Damascus is, one, this incredible bike trail and hiking trail that runs along these mountains is a major source of economic opportunity and economic development, right? People come in, they stay in Airbnbs, they stay in bed and breakfast.
Oh, for fuck's sake. So what he's saying, in case any of you don't speak imbecile, he's saying that their priority is landowners and hotel owners and hospitality industry in the area, and that they want to reshore up fucking hiking trails, which sounds like some hippy dippy baloney you'd hear from a Democrat allegedly. And so the Department of Agriculture is limiting whether or not the bike trail can be rented. I want to hear the rest of this story, because fucking hell.
They go to the coffee shops, they go to the restaurants, but
yeah, you know, hillbilly shit. They go on the canoe trip, they buy some lube.
Unfortunately, the part of that trail that is managed and monitored by the federal government has been way too slow to actually start that rebuilding process. That's something that we want to focus on.
What? What the fuck? This motherfucker's talking about bike paths for tourism, and that the federal government is slow in their response to the rebuilding of a fucking bike path, when this asshole just heard from somebody whose house was split in half and his mother doesn't have a place to live. And this motherfucker's bike path, coffee, Airbnb. Okay. Anybody, look, I love Ron Howard. He's a nice enough guy. But if the next time any of us see him, we have a moral responsibility to go, because that shit was more fiction than we even knew then.
On immediately. I think a second big issue is, and the governor knows these numbers better than I do, but I believe the maximum you can get from FEMA for home rebuilding is about $42,000, right? The average amount of damage, as I heard today, is about $130,000, right? So that's
yeah, because of the rich area you were in.
a massive you know, 80, 90,
and also it's supplemental to your insurance.
$1,000 shortfall that we need to make sure that other parts of the federal government are fixing. Now, to be clear,
fixing.
Continuing resolution that was passed just a few weeks ago actually does have the resources to fill that gap, but only if the bureaucrats get out of the way and actually make sure that people get the money that they're
what's the bureaucracy? That they have to prove it was their house?
They're entitled to, that the American people have decided that we want to contribute and we want to fund this incredible redevelopment.
You mean their tax dollars? This incredible redevelopment? Huh? Redevelopment? I thought you were just helping people rebuild their fucking house.
But it's got to happen quicker than it's been happening with the bureaucracy in Washington.
Time for one more question, guys.
Why? Why? I mean, you can guarantee it, and it guarantees a certain amount of money, and you're going to add more money later on. At the very least, people could put a down payment on the construction. Sorry, I blame myself. I actually started to have a genuine conversation about the mechanics of this whole thing, and I forgot that I was talking to an asshole. So, it happens. You know what? Because I'm a giver. That's why. I'm a nice guy, and I like to see the best in people, even when they're complete shitheels. So. Thanks, Jet.
One more.
Yeah, he can only take one more question because he's over his quota of saying bureaucracy.
In Western North Carolina as well, some people were complaining about some of the red tape they had to get through to get trailers or the hotel vouchers. They were about to end in January when there was a snowstorm. What do you guys make of some of that disorganization, and what are some specific ways you could streamline that process and just make the recovery process more efficient?
Well, unfortunately, it's just a perfect example of the bureaucratic inadequacy.
Oh, fuck you!
Of the last administration and why we need to do better in this country.
Okay, by the way, this isn't anybody's first fucking rodeo. That these are standards set by Congress. How long these vouchers last, what you get, it's based on the damage assessed and all that kind of shit. The vouchers that you primarily get on the first thing are 4 months old. Therefore, you're going to hit like a quarter of the year or a third of the year is going to be your limit. And then they re-up them. And if you have to apply for another one, you'll get one.
You know, the thing that I heard most when I was in Western North Carolina before the inauguration.
In Western North Carolina before the inauguration.
But it was after the election.
Yeah, most inaugurations are after the election. That is true. I'm just saying, from a calendar standpoint.
That there are people who wanted to put trailers or other temporary housing in particular areas of Western North Carolina.
And we just can't allow that because North Carolina does not allow people to live in trailers.
But they couldn't because FEMA had designated these particular areas to be ineligible for the type of assistance that would allow people to put that temporary housing in the first place.
Because there's a chance it will slide down a hill?
That's another example of this.
That's not an example. An example would be why they had designated it that way.
Sort of thing that's broken about the federal response. And
it's not broken. It's not broken. You haven't even established that what they're doing is wrong.
It's actually, when you have such great governors like Glenn Youngkin, and you
suck up,
you talk to people, and it's like the local government's working, the state government is working as hard as it can.
And the only thing they can't do is afford to rebuild themselves. So they got to go knock on fucking California's door to pay their bills.
The local communities and the nonprofits and the churches are working at breakneck speed, and yet you have the federal government out there, the biggest institution with the most money that's not doing its job.
No, it's doing the big stuff, and big stuff takes longer.
Just drives home how much better we can do. And I think one of the takeaways...
No. This does not prove that you can do better. You are doing the same shit that everybody does, including Glenn Youngkin. You are standing in front of some fucking plywood that you chose to stand in front of because standing in front of a wall doesn't sell where you are and that you're helping. You walked around the fucking building at the beginning of it, and you're standing there trying to look like you're near something being rebuilt or some devastation, so you look like you can, where you can pretend to give a shit.
Ways of just my time the last week being the people's vice president is they should have higher
The people's vice president? What the fuck is it? What kind of commie bullshit is this?
Expectations for their federal government. I talk to so many people who will say, in effect, well, it's the federal government. Oh, the bureaucracy. Oh, the red tape. No. The bureaucracy and the red tape is not an excuse for the government to not do its job. We're not going to be perfect. We never will be. Government is as fallible as the people who run it.
That's his nice way of telling Virginians that they're fucked.
But we can do a heck of a lot better than we have.
No, you can't. No, you can't. And we won't even know until the next one. Stupid. You can't, again, you haven't explained what the buildup was or what the limitations are. You haven't said whether you're going to change those limitations at all. And the only way we'll know if you actually can do better is the next fucking flood. And you're not inspiring confidence, Mr. Dangly Arms, standing there in front of a piece of fucking plywood, blaming the last administration for shit you don't even understand.
Over the last few years, and that is something that President Trump and I are committed to doing. And let me just leave you with one final thought.
Oh my God, this dude and his final thoughts. That's 3, right? That's 3. So let's just start with this motherfucker can't count.
I know that a lot of the people watching in the local news
know that you're an asshole.
Look, this is a part of our country, Appalachian, Virginia, that has been ignored and left behind.
What are you talking about? You're in a tourist destination where people go biking on a path with federally built bicycle bridges. You're not in the area where my dad's friend Harry Bickle goes and donates his dentistry services to pull rotten teeth and help people with gum disease in the fucking sticks, dummy. Probably because if you went to visit those people, they would take a shot at you because they're fucking crazy, but still.
For decades, for generations in this country.
No, fuck off. You don't live in the woods like that if you want to be helped by the government or surrounded by other people.
Again, we're never going to be perfect, but
don't sell yourself short. You're never going to be good.
But I promise you that this administration will not forget you. We love you. We're rooting for you, and we want.
Rooting for you? Where's your pom-poms, asshole?
I want to be part of this incredible recovery here in Southwest Virginia. God bless you guys. Thanks for being here. Yeah, good to see you, man. Thanks for
awkward hug. Yeah, notice how they show up at this thing. I'm going to show you the beginning again, where they walk around and he points to right over there is where see his media person pointing to where they're supposed to stand.
White X. Okay.
White X. He fucking said it. Holy shit! They gave him a mark. Listen to that again. I didn't hear that the first time. White X. She points at it. Just right over there on the white X. And then he goes, white X, like a dumbass.
White X. Okay.
White X, got it. So it's important to have that white X for some reason, that white cross to stand on, perhaps. Just kind of the thing you're interested in. What a dweeb.
Great. Okay.
Great. I hit my mark. So thanks everybody for this completely for this completely spontaneous spot where we can stand and talk in front of flag, also wood and wires, dirt, and on white X, knowing and we can put our hands on our thighs ever so slightly and just go shit. Look, my problem is I'm just tired of trying to live in the shadows of these alpha males. How am I supposed to compete? Huh? With my, long flowing locks and my really nice skin for my age especially, and, my obviously weak physique. How am I even, look at these pieces of man meat. How am I even supposed to stand next to that and not feel inadequate? And the charisma, the overwhelming, the spirit, the keen, the cunning, the instinct. Instinct. This where Glenn Youngkin does his Bigfoot caught taking a shit impersonation, and JD Vance is doing his fuck my keys. I left my keys on the I left my key on the dash. Yeah, sorry, America. Just deal with the fact that there are only two genders, and these guys don't qualify for either. And and we're all just going to have to deal with the fact that we're staring into the sun of alpha male masculinity, and it is blinding, it is powerful, and none of us can live up to the exacting male standards. Look, I don't want guys out there to start feeling inadequate and start, getting what's that thing where that fat freeze or whatever on the thing, and then try to grow a neck beard just to keep up. Is there an opposite of the freeze where you put a iron on you and it puffs up? I don't want people feeling like, guys, you're good enough the way you are. I don't want you to stare at pictures of these two and go, oh, I'll never be alpha male like them. They're so strong and meaty and manly. I am weak in comparison. I must take steroids and inject them straight into my penis, or I will never live up to this intolerable standards. I feel like a girl on Instagram who follows nothing but Kardashians. It's brutal. I don't... Vance's tall as he looks short. It's because he's oddly proportioned, but also Youngkin's tall. But I would like to say for the record that I guess at some point I'll have to cut my hair short so I don't look quite so feminine in the presence of these guys. And yeah. Yeah. This is brutal. This is going to be brutal. This is one of the worst parts of this whole thing is having to watch people pretend that these guys are macho. Fuck. It's so gross. Hold on. Somebody was saying in here. Hold on. Say last thing again. Say one final thing again. Say it. Say one final thing. Say one final thing again. Do it. I dare you. I fucking dare you. Say one final thing again. You be your final thing. You crazy son of a bitch. One final thing. I got to start doing more characters because I lost them for a little while. My little filters thing didn't work. It was very distressing. Got them back working again. Whew. And I'm very lucky because we're just, especially we go to Virginia. You ain't got to tell me, man. Hey, man, that happened. I'll have you know, they took that piece of plywood from my house. That I was using that on my trailer from 6 storms ago, okay? So I don't want to hear this shit from anybody about, they gonna come down and save some fucking bike trail. Look, it has been a long time since I've pounced on joggers, and I don't want to start again. So knock that shit off, buddy. Get your dumbass coffee and bicycle bullshit out of here. I'll tell you what, son. Hold on. We got somebody to visit, though, because somebody's asking for it. Oh. Hello? I'm a baby hound, and my hair is long now. Hello? I'm doing so good. Hello. What's he doing? Why they're outside of the mud? He can't come with those shoes in the house or the mud. Can't do that. Not a good thing. Friends, as we all visit down here in the heartland, or as I like to call it, the spleen land. That's right, it's a little lower and to the right, and it produces some of the enzymatic hormones necessary for the healing of the body. It is basically the Lord Jesus Christ of your upper pancreatic and liver-oriented area. I'd like to ask y'all to say a little prayer for me, that one day this man's beard might somehow make him look more masculine. It would be a miracle, Lord. We know this. It's a near impossibility. The laws of physics were meant to be broken, my friends. Lord, please reach down from your heavenly abode, put down the remote and that gigantic beer, and help us, O Lord. Deliver us from a dweeb pestilence that has come across the land. First, Lord, the winds came. Then the floods came, followed by the bureaucracy, Lord. Oh, the bureaucracy, save us from that. But after that, the worst pestilence of all, the great dweeb pestilence of 2025. Men who, when we speak of them, we must use air quotes to describe. But men who come and say that they are representative of a new era of manliness, and yet basically it's like before and after dad bod pictures. It's not good. And I guess it's too much, Lord, to ask that they step near that white cable that seems to be drawing electricity from somewhere and is draped across a puddle. It would seem. I don't ask often, and I don't ask for much, but Lord, if you could do one thing, above all, save us from the kidney. Because
the kidney has a very special place in the heart.
it most certainly does not. Praise Jesus. Pass the mashed potatoes. Hit that like, everybody, for me, please. And I'll see you tomorrow. Morning show, baby. Tomorrow, I think it's the Major and Phil. Is that right? Hope so. Okay, just Major, no Philip. Okay, excellent. Hope he's okay. We'll talk to him as soon as we can. Excellent. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Come on, everybody. Help us out. A little bit, just a little bit. A little super chat, a little subscription, a little Twitch subscription, a little love, a little sharing. Come on, yes. Everybody, yeah. Wacka diggy diggy diggy. Wacka diggy. Ding dong bing ba bong. Oh, yes. Honey, baby.